How do I make my online course stand out when it seems like so many artists are putting their course out, and it also seems that they're all teaching the same thing, and more importantly, it seems like they're all saying the same thing in their marketing? This is a brilliant question that a talented watercolor artist, Alena, asked me in our strategy session.
So many newsletters that I received, I had to unsubscribe because the just even though the artists are great, they're all they seem the same approach, how to like present the course, for example. And I always like, why should I buy it? Because I'm not sure. Like, tell me, tell me more.
In this video, you're going to learn 3 simple steps to make your online course or your membership unmistakably yours and stand out in the especially noisy market of these days, but without reinventing the wheel. This will magnetize the right kind of people to come and join your course and learn your creative skill. I've actually used these exact same steps to make my watercolor membership stand out in a market at a time when so many artists, it seemed like every artist was launching their own, watercolor membership or their art membership. And it actually attracted more than 350 plus curious creatives to join my watercolor membership. And during its lifetime, this membership ended up making me more than $150,000. Let's get into this strategy session where you're going to see me give these 3 pointers to Alena and get ready to make some notes.
So I'm Alena. I'm a watercolor artist. I live in Switzerland, and I've been teaching watercolors since about 7 years. Um, and I'm mainly teaching offline. It's either private classes or group classes. Mostly it's group classes, but creating my own online course has been on my mind forever. And yeah, and now I feel like it's the right time for many reasons. Um, the main question that I wanted to ask you is that how to not to become just another air quotes watercolor course, that because there are plenty already, and how to kind of find a unique angle, unique approach, how to carve my own niche. Because I feel like at the moment there's so much, we're drowning in all this information. So how to make my information a little bit more interesting for people? That's, I think, is the main question. And like, for example, so many newsletters that I received, I had to unsubscribe because the just even though the artists are great, they're all they seem the same approach, how to like present the course, for example. And I always like, why should I buy it? Because I'm not sure. Like, tell me, tell me more. Why is it interesting? So yeah, that's the question.
Okay, great question. And I totally relate with you in terms of how noisy our inboxes get with all the newsletters that we sign up. And there's definitely this trend where everything appears just the same. Everybody's talking about the same thing. And it can all seem like a little bit of a blur, right? And
Oh
so
yeah.
I have 3 pointers for you that I'm going to share with you that's going to help you make your course stand out. But more than your course, your methodology stand out. All right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, let's dive into it. The first thing you want to do is start by anchoring into your own personal story.
Hmm.
And that is going to be the magic that gets infused with your course. And that is the ultimate thing that's going to make it stand out.
Okay.
All right. So, what you want to answer and sit with yourself with this is, you said you want to teach mountains. Did I hear that correct?
Well, that's one of the, yeah, yeah.
Right. So, let's
That's
just,
probably where I would start. Yeah.
right. So, let's take watercolor mountains, for example. Why does it matter to you? So, why did you fall in love with this subject? Why do you care so much about painting mountains for yourself? That's number one. And why does
Okay.
it matter to you that someone else learns how to paint mountains? Maybe in an easy way, maybe in a joyful way, maybe adding either simplifying mountains or adding complexity to mountains, whatever you want to teach. Why does it matter to you so much that someone else learned this? All right.
Mhm.
So let me give you an example. when I launched my watercolor membership. So that membership ran for 2 years and 8 months. And I think we made a little over $150,000 with that membership, where you were one of the guest teachers, right? And when I started this membership back in 2020, of course, there were a lot of artists, a lot of really great masters, artists who were even more skilled than me with their online courses, right? So naturally, I even asked myself, why would someone pay me money to come and learn from me? And why would they pay me money month on month, every month, and continually learn from me? And when I started this membership, and when I sat with this question myself, I realized that number one, I wanted to teach watercolors and especially watercolor landscapes and to learn to paint them in a more expressive way and to bring more atmosphere. Because for me personally, when I first started painting with watercolors, this beautiful medium, it liberated me from a lifelong tight grip of perfectionism on me.
Oh yeah, I know that
Not a
feeling.
problem, not a surprise, because I'm an eldest daughter, and that's how I was raised, with like all these responsibilities on my shoulders. I had to be the good girl always, and I could never break any rules. But with watercolors, I loved that there's a freedom to be found in it because I don't have to control every little thing. I had to
Oh
control
yeah.
every little thing in my own life with everything else, but with watercolors, I could just be free and I could go where the pigment flowed in the water and I could co-create with this medium. I liked not having control. But I
Mm.
observed in my in-person classes that a lot of perfectionisms were having problems in letting go of control. They were not letting go of control. And I wanted to show all the people, especially perfectionists, that there is medicine in letting go of control in watercolors. And I wanted to make that path easy for them. I wanted to make it accessible for them. And so that is why it mattered so much to me. And that was the stance that I took, that I still take with watercolors, right? And
Yeah, of course. And I totally understand the letting go of control. I say this phrase so many times during my classes. You know, some people are just like trying to teach you how to control it, you
Mhm.
know, like more than anything. And I disagree with that a little bit.
Right. So there is something that you disagree with. So you want to think about what are some of the things that you disagree with? What are maybe some of your controversial opinions that you have? For example, one of the controversial opinions and a stance that I have with watercolors is I don't believe in the purist approach to watercolors where you can't use white pigments, uh,
Hmm.
like white paint, and you can't use black paints in your paintings. Like, I
Yeah.
disagree with that. I also disagree with always painting with a limited palette. Oh, you're only supposed to have like a couple of primary colors. And I mean, sure, it helps with learning color mixing, but
Yeah.
I actually value convenience and quick access when I'm painting far more than, oh, I just want to mix everything with three colors. So I have these stances, and these are controversial. And there are so many artists who will disagree with me.
Oh yeah, I totally with you on board on that one. Resonate with that a lot. Rules are here to break. I mean, it's good to learn them, but then you're free to break them.
Exactly. So you want to sit with what is my stance? What is my story? And why does it matter to me? I'll give you another example. When I created my membership to make it stand out, when I sent out an email sequence, there was one particular email that converted the most amount of people and that got me the highest number of students and the most amount of signups. And that was the why behind this membership. I literally sent out an email saying, why did I create this watercolor membership for you? And in that email, I explained how, when I started learning with watercolors,
Mhm.
I was just engaged to my boyfriend, who is now my husband. and I was in between jobs. And even when I got a new job, it was a pretty chill job. So I had a disproportionate amount of time to dedicate to just sitting in on my desk, scouring all the YouTube tutorials, all the Reddit threads, all the other little courses that I could afford to invest in because I didn't have a lot of money back then. And it took me almost 2 years to learn how to paint in my style. And with watercolor florals, my God, I think it took me like 2.5, 3 years of that much time and effort that I put into it, which I don't have a problem, right? I love that. However, there are a lot of people in my community, especially like mothers or people who have full-time jobs who don't have that much time to dedicate to this thing, right? And they're just looking for, can someone just make this easy for me, please? Can someone just show me how can I avoid like most of the obstacles and just find a
Mhm.
way to make this beautiful medium work for me? And that's what I shared, right? Now, I don't want you to be spending that much time. I did it for you. I walked the path and I figured some things out. And that was like my ADHD brain as well, you know? So I figured out how to paint in an easy, expressive way, but that still honors the traditional methods of painting with watercolors, but mixed with like some sort of contemporary ADHD quirkiness. So, what do you want to think about is what are your quirks? What is the
Yeah.
stance that you can take? And most importantly, what is your story? Because your story is what is going to really resonate with people, and your story is what is going to magnetize the right kind of people to come and learn from you and nobody
Mhm. Got it.
else. Make sense?
Yes, of course. And I'm just already, my brain is working and I'm starting to think about all of that.
Amazing. So why don't you, like, let's do this real quick. Why don't you share with me your story? Why does it matter for you that you paint mountains, and why does it matter so much for you that other people learn how to paint mountains from you?
I came from a very classic education, so it's like an academic drawing. So all of the rules that you are not allowed to break and all of that. And I'm like you. When I learned that apparently it is possible to break them and nobody will like give you bad time for that. No, it's just I came from the university from the post USSR era, and there's not allowed to you were not allowed to break any rules ever.
Mhm.
If you do, like even if you're painting, you are banned forever. you know. Well, so best case scenario, you will get a bad grade. Worst
Mhm.
case scenario, you can even say goodbye to your degree. So it was very liberating to learn that you can break the rules. So here I'm with you totally. But I do like to teach the rules though.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you can
Yeah,
only break them once you learn them. Wasn't it Picasso who
exactly.
said that? Learn the rules first, and then you can learn how to break them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I guess actually it's very for other people it's also very, very liberating. So first they kind of learn, that's how, that's why, and then they're like, oh, I can break it. I can do whatever I want, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's great that it's resonating. And what I'm hearing you say is that, with your story, how you came from this rigid, traditional ways of, you can only sketch like this or draw like this or paint like this with these rigid rules. But then you had to find your way to feel that permission to break the rules. And that's when you found that permission, is when you felt liberated. Now, imagine there are thousands and thousands of people around the world who are also feeling weighed down by all the shoulds and all the rules. And how liberated would they feel when they get the permission from an amazing artist like you? And that is one of the things that you can talk about. That's what's gonna set your course apart. All right. So
Yeah.
that's point number one. The second thing that you want to do to really set your course apart is, this is a little bit technical. You want to do something called as a competitor research. Okay, that also combines with market research. So competitor research is when you're going and looking at all of these artists and you had already subscribed to their newsletters, right? And then you saw that it's all the same, they're all saying the same thing, they're all sounding the same way. So when it would be beneficial to actually invest in a couple of these courses and go through it and see, like, first things first, you spotted the sameness in the newsletter, so you already know, like, what is so repetitive, what is so frustratingly repetitive. Then when you, like, go check out a few courses, you might see that all of these courses are missing this one key component in the same place, right? So that is going to show you where the gap is. And the second most important thing is, apart from your own competitor research as a watercolor teacher, you want to ask your students and your audience. So the
Mhm.
best question to ask your people is, have you invested in other watercolor courses? And if you have, what didn't work for you, or what did you wish was included in those courses?
Mhm.
And you want to pull these answers out from people where they're sharing, oh, I went through this course, but really when they started, they showed me about color mixing, but when they started teaching about how to translate from a reference picture, I felt completely lost and I just could not make it work. Let's say somebody says that, right? Then that is going to point to you that, oh, I know what's going on. They were missing the section on value studies, because
Yeah.
that's so important to learn how to make value studies before you jump into a final painting, because value studies helps you break down your reference picture into the main shapes, and they haven't learned how to connect the main shapes, right? and
Yeah.
and that is what is gonna point out to you all these recurring frustrations that your audience is facing. And you are also going to notice what are the unmet needs of your people,
Mm.
right? So let's say someone says, oh, I took a whole bunch of courses, but really they just showed me how to paint. This artist just showed me how to paint like them, but they never told me how do I paint in my style.
Yeah,
And
that's I had this problem myself when I was buying courses. That's always like they just show what they do and how they do it. They don't even like explain why they do it, you know? Because why is always important. But there is never like a final project, for example, that you do apply this knowledge now painting your own from your own reference, or for example they can provide you references that are similar to what they just taught. But yeah, that's what for me is always missing, or like most of the time.
oh, I absolutely agree, because that's the same thing that I also observed is when I was learning from my teachers. I'm like, okay, I replicated the painting that they showed me, but now I have no idea how to take all of the skills that I have learned and move out of, let's say I learned how to paint a cityscape, but like, how do I use these techniques and learn how to paint this beautiful sunset sky with the mountains that I want to paint, right? So, one example of how I did it with my watercolor membership and all of my courses is I gave people homework and assignment. All right.
Yeah.
And some people don't like it, which is fine. That means you're not the right fit for my course. And it's probably the Indian student and the Indian teacher in me, but I genuinely think homework and assignments are really important, because one of the stances that I take is you're never going to learn anything unless you implement something. And it
Yeah. Yeah.
needs to be something that you do it on your own. It needs to be uncomfortable, because of course you're in your comfort zone when you're following your artist teacher. Sure, they're showing you the exact steps, but real learning happens when you attempt something by yourself. So in my watercolor membership and in my courses, I give students similar reference pictures, right? It's similar to the subject that I'm teaching, but it's just different enough that they have to think of, oh, right, I learned this technique, I can probably apply it over here. And that is
Yeah.
the reason why my membership was so successful and why it got so many students bringing in more of their friends into this space, because it really did help them develop their own style, which was one of the most things that I wanted to deliver. So all of my courses have multiple reference pictures and assignments, And the courses itself, it's structured in a way that you need to complete the assignment in this module first before you move to the next one,
Oh yeah, okay.
right? So I think you're
I once did a course like that, and it was actually the one that I finished. Other
there you
courses,
go.
sometimes you just buy, you never finish them. You like pick out a couple of first lessons, and you're like, okay, I got
It's
it.
the same. It's the same. There's nothing different with like
Yeah.
compared to all the other courses I've invested in. That's absolutely right. And it really does matter that you give people a good experience and you give people good results. So as I was talking about asking your people what is missing and what they wish that was included in it, that is why I just want to do a little bit of a segue and say that that's why market research is really important because
Hmm.
yes, you want to create a unique course, which is awesome. And say you want to start with teaching mountains, which is also really important that you create a course that you're passionate about. But at the end of the day, you want to find out what exact problems that your people are facing. And you want to create a course that helps them solve those specific problems. And that is the
Yep.
reason why market research is the absolute first step that you need to do before you even start planning out your course curriculum and you start filming your course. And if you're wondering exactly what sort of market research questions should I ask, then the questions are not supposed to be like vague questions about, what do you wish to learn from me? Right? This is like a
Hmm.
really vague, really broad question. Instead, you want to ask questions that highlights the exact problems that they're facing and it highlights their unmet needs. And so I've created 6 essential questions that you need to ask your people. And all of those questions are in my free ebook, Creative Teaching Stories. So if you want those questions and the exact templates, then flip to page 16 and grab your free copy from the description below. And Elena, you have the copy of the ebook too, right?
Yes,
Have the
I do.
questions to begin with.
Yeah, but my main question at the moment, why is not enough to ask yourself? Because so you, me, we as teachers, we bought so many courses already. We probably know what is missing. We probably know even maybe better than our audience or not. Do you disagree? So why should I ask my audience and
Hmm.
not kind of myself? Because I feel like I know better. So what do you say?
I say that it's not either or, it's both.
Okay.
You want to ask your audience to find out what is it that they're struggling with. What you don't want to ask your audience is, how do you prefer to learn from me? Do you want this course to be X number of length? Do you want me to cover value studies in it? Do you want me to give you homework? That's not what you're
Yeah, no, no. Yeah.
That's not what they're dictating. You're asking them what is it specifically that they're struggling with and what phase of the journey that they're in. So that when you check in with yourself and you're like, okay, I want to create this mountains course, right? But let's say all of your people are repetitively asking for your watercolor seascapes,
Uh-huh.
which you are really famous for. And that was the class that you taught in my membership, right?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question.
Right? So if you see like, oh wow, 90% of the people are asking for watercolor seascapes.
Yes, but what if I still want to do mountains?
You can still do mountains. However, there is a sweet spot to be found because the reason why you're creating a course is because you want to make sales from it ultimately and you want people to pay you, right?
Of course.
Right? And so when someone is looking specifically to you to solve their watercolor seascapes problem, right?
Mm,
And you're
but
like, but no, but
yeah,
I want to teach you mountains. And here are the reasons why. Here's my story. Here's why mountains matter and everything. It's not that you can't do it. It's not that you should never create a course that you like and you love. It's just that you're going to have to work that much harder in your marketing to tell people, oh, you know what, you will learn all of this stuff. You learn how to paint your style in my mountains course. However,
yeah.
because you're an artist and you're also a business owner and you want to create a product that the market is asking for.
No, I get it, but then, it will be very sad if everybody would be very excited about seascapes. However, I'm here like, "Oh, no."
So again, it depends on how you ask the follow-up market research questions too, you know?
Exactly, I know what you mean, but
So
no,
you can just
it's just
start
very
asking.
ironic.
It's, well, yes, if you think of it that way, but are you sure? Do you know for a fact that your people don't want mountains?
No, I know they want them,
Do you know for a fact that your people only want seascapes and they just
of
don't want
course not.
mountains at all? You don't know this. And this is the thing, right? Like artists get in their head about this stuff. And yes, of course, you know better, right? That I want to create like this. However, just check in with your people. What
Yeah.
are their struggles? And then see if their struggle is mostly, I'm just not able to paint in my own style. Or I struggle to paint the mountains, right? And then you can create a course where, yes, you can teach the mountains can be the subject that you're teaching, but you're really helping them develop their own style with the
Yeah.
mountains as a mini subject that you center the course around.
To be completely honest, I already asked my audience about the mountains, and everybody were very excited about that. So,
There you go. And the third point that you want to do to make your course your own is to infuse soul in it,
oh,
right? So you said that a final project is important, which is absolutely true. So get creative, sit with yourself and see how can I create a unique final project,
hmm,
right? Where students are able to, I'm guiding students to interpret the reference image and the subject and not just copy what I'm doing.
yep,
So what is my unique approach and methodology in guiding people to get to that place? And think of, can I infuse some reflection prompts where I make people sit with the reference picture and sit with themselves, like what is standing out for them,
hmm,
and have them sort of interpret it in their style, right? And how can you want to think about how can you move people beyond the technical skills to build an emotional connection?
hmm.
So these are some of the ways that you can infuse soul in your course.
Okay, can you give me an example? For example, when you are, let's say, you received a newsletter from
Mhm.
an artist or an art school or whatever, advertising the online course, you click, let's say you already clicked and you are like on the landing page, you're reading about the course. What kind of when you decide that, oh, there is something about this course, like that there is soul in this course, as you said, because for me, 99% of the time I don't want to buy the course. And sometimes when I do want to buy it, because it feels like it's very personal, there is story
Mhm.
involved and everything, and I do buy it, I get disappointed.
Right. So what specifically causes the disappointed? When you see the story, when you feel it, but in the back end.
Bec- the story was all in the landing page and not in the course.
Right.
That's when I get disappointed.
So then your answer is obvious, right? How can you infuse your own story within the course as well? And that
Yeah.
again brings me to point two, where you're doing the competitor research, because that's your competitor research now. You're seeing, right? I did this great story in the email newsletters, great story in the landing page, but really nothing in the back end. It's just really sterile, it's technical. It's just, yeah, we're just gonna go through this, right? So let me give you an example of how I did it with my painting large watercolors course. Is I saw that there are literally no resources where people are learning how to paint big with watercolors.
Yeah, you're right.
And this is something that very few artists have been able to figure it out. And I
Mm-hmm.
paid like $3,000-$4,000 to go to my amazing teacher Sergei Kurbatov's retreat in Tuscany. And I went, it was a plein air workshop, but he taught me, he just taught us how to paint in big, large formats. And I wanted to submit my painting to a watercolor exhibition. And as you know, all the competitive watercolor exhibitions, they require you to submit your paintings in a half an imperial sheet, so
Yeah.
15 by 22 inches or above, right? And I wanted to submit it. And I was like, oh my God, I need to make a 15 by 22 inches painting that I've never done before. And so I sat and I attempted it, and it was again a lot of learning, a huge learning curve, spending a lot of my money, going abroad, learning it from my teacher in person, and then figuring this whole process out by myself. And then I started painting big and bigger paintings, and that's what I came to be known for, like my huge watercolor landscapes. So when I decided to make this course, right, I decided that I don't want this to be just like a typical, there's a camera pointing down to the table and I'm just walking them through the motions. So I
Mhm.
decided to make every single class in it feel as if you're right there in my studio, standing next to me, and I'm talking to you about it, right? So I
Mhm.
infused a lot of soul and story in each painting. So the second class that I teach in this course is a Northern Lights painting,
Mhm.
right? And so I begin the class by saying that this is the most easiest subject to paint, but there's a reason why I'm teaching you Northern Lights, and that is because when I was struggling with poverty in India, and, one of my biggest bucket list items was to go see the Northern Lights. And I thought at that time, when I still had a full time job, I thought that the journey would kind of look like I would slowly climb up the corporate ladder. I'd save up a little bit of money. I'd probably take a bank loan to be able to afford to go to Iceland or Norway. And I'd go there and take a big risk because you don't know if they're going to show up or not when you go there.
Of
Right?
course.
And if I ever saw Northern Lights, it would be like that, right? And then I had spent like a couple of years just paying off that loan just to be able to afford that trip. That's when I was, a beginner watercolor. So
Yeah.
when I was in India, in the very beginning of my watercolor journey, I started painting Northern Lights. So I told my students, if you scroll all the way back up on my Instagram, you'll see me paint Northern Lights. Right? And but then because I kept going in my watercolor journey, I was able to create a business around it. And ultimately, this beautiful business, this creative community, it allowed me to move from India to Canada. And now I live here in the Canadian Rockies. And I see Northern Lights from my back deck, like from my house, I see Northern Lights.
Wow.
Okay.
That's amazing. For me, it actually was the same. I first painted Northern Lights and then I saw them. So
Right.
maybe that's the
Exactly.
power of painting.
It's manifestation. If this is not manifestation, I don't know what it is. So I said in
Exactly.
class, shared the story, and I said that, I truly believe that you can paint your reality into existence. There's a reason why I believe that. And so if Northern Lights is on your bucket list, let's paint this together. Maybe you'll be able to manifest seeing it, right? So
Okay, that's a
now
great idea of infusing the course. Yeah, yeah.
So now, what's
Amazing.
more interesting, like somebody is far more motivated to sit through that class and actually learn how to paint because it goes beyond the technical wet and wet skills of
Yeah,
painting Northern Lights, right?
yeah,
And this is how you create a really good course experience because although I gave you these 3 points, above all, making your course unique is one part, but above all, you want to bring people results.
yeah, that's true.
So, to any artist who is listening in the quest of making something unique, don't go so far away from the way to teach that you're just not giving people any results. Because that's what counts at the end of the day is people are investing their hard-earned money to learn something from you. So definitely teach them really well. But if you're able to make it unique, if you're able to bring your stories, right, make the front facing thing match the back facing product. That is so important. And that's
Yeah,
what creates raving fans. That's what brings people back again and again and again.
exactly. Plus, we always want to do another online course afterwards. We want people to
Absolutely.
come back.
Absolutely. So, did it answer your question on how to make your online course unique and how to make it stand out from the market?
You just put all what I already knew in words. You know what I mean? It's all like there's nothing like that crazy new, like no science in here, like no rocket science. I mean, but then at the end, when somebody like you manage to put all of that in words and like points, it's like, okay, wow. But first, yes, you kind of knew that already, but then somebody for you did that already and said it in words, in points. So yeah, now I already have it here, my notes.
Hmm. And you know where you said, "Oh, I knew this thing, Trupti," but when you put it all in these three different,
Exactly. It's
it just clicked
crazy.
in my brain in a different way. Well, this is demonstrative of the power of teaching, right? So
Yes, I don't know how you do it.
but that's the same thing, right? Like your students have gone and taken multiple courses, probably watched multiple YouTube videos, but it still hasn't clicked in them. So don't put this pressure on yourself that, oh, in order to make my course unique, I have to find a way to teach this in some sort of a unique way. You're not reinventing the wheel, right?
Yeah, of course.
You're teaching watercolor techniques, right? And so you're not completely reinventing the wheel. So don't put that pressure on yourself, but just focus on how would you convey your knowledge. And the reason at the end of the day, your course is still going to be unique is because nobody paints like you, nobody has your story, nobody has your way of explaining watercolors. And that is the reason why it literally doesn't matter if every other artist went out and created their own course, everybody has a space at this table.
Of
Doesn't
course, I
matter.
totally agree.
Yeah, so that is why, and I'll give you an example also. In my watercolor membership, I was teaching a color mixing class. And one of the stances that I have also is I hate making swatches. And
Oh,
by that I mean organized swatches. Like I hate making color charts. And the thing that I hate the most, and I know hate is like a strong word, so I'll just say I strongly, strongly dislike making those color wheels. I really
oh
like
no,
doing that, okay?
I hate it.
I know that every single person, every YouTube video is trying to teach artists about colors and color temperature, blah, 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 by doing these color wheels and all these like square color charts, which just takes like so much time to just like mindfully fill in, which,
Yeah,
that is some people's thing. Some people find that calming. For me, it's extremely annoying. And so
that's true.
yeah, and so how my ADHD brain learned color mixing is I just sat mixing all the colors and then I started thinking about, oh, warm colors, cool colors. Oh, when I mix it, this is what happens. So I taught a color mixing class and that too on a Facebook Live. It wasn't even the most fancy recorded class with an expensive equipment and like a lighting setup or something. I just taught it to my founders, and it has been one of my best selling classes ever. And an artist who has been an art teacher in school, and she's been teaching color theory for how long did she say? 15, 20 years. She was like, I've never understood colors in the way that you've taught before. And do you know what? I was terrified before the class. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to teach this without color wheels? Everybody else is teaching it with color wheels and blah, 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 all of that stuff. But I taught
Hmm.
it in the way that my ADHD brain understood it. And that was my quirk.
That's amazing. Now I need to see this this class.
All right, to recap, the three things that you want to do to make sure that your online course stands out in the market is number one, anchor your course idea into your story. How did your creative act change your life? And why do you think it has the power to change your student's life? You want to get really crystal clear on this. Second, you want to do a competitor research combined with market research where you're actually polling your audience and you're asking them questions to find out what are their recurring frustrations and what are their unmet needs in all the other courses that they've been taking. Then you want to double down on that so that you're bridging that gap that your audience is facing, and you also want to point out this differentiator in your course or your program when you're marketing. So, for example, there are a lot of people who are teaching how to create and launch your online course. And there are some really pretty big box mentors who are doing it as well with $1 million launches. However, what sets our program apart, Creative Course Launchpad, is we actually don't even have a course to help artists launch their courses. All we have is a resource hub where we give artists, like micro lessons, because I don't think artists like you need any more courses. What you actually need is the gist of the strategy, and we give them all in simple Google documents, and we give resources like plug and play templates and a strategy to actually make fewer pieces of content on Instagram and still sell your course. And the thing that differentiates us is Nahush's in-house tech help, because literally nobody is offering artists and creatives to set up the backend tech systems to connect all the different platforms and show them, like literally hold their hands. And what Nahush does is he actually, with your permission, obviously, he takes control of your screen and he clicks around and he sets everything up for you in like a 60-minute call, as opposed to creatives wasting weeks and weeks of their time trying to teach themselves these new softwares. And that's the reason why it's so easy for us to constantly keep getting clients who want to work with us, because we bridge that gap. We notice that there are so many creatives who are, buying all these business courses, but still in freeze mode because they're simply unable to figure out the tech, most importantly. And they also don't know what exact strategy matches my business at the stage that I'm in right now. Third and last thing that you want to do is you want to infuse soul in your course. Give people reflection prompts throughout your course so that they're having to pause and think about this creative thing that you're teaching them. Think about it differently. Think about what it means for them. And give them unique final projects in each module, or at least at the end of your course, and encourage them to take up the challenge to interpret it in their own way. Basically, what you want to be doing is you want to move people beyond the technical skills of what you're teaching and what they're learning, and form an emotional connection with the creative act. What else do you think we should add to this list? Let me know in the comments. And if this video sparked a shift in you or even gave you clarity, and you want my insights on your online course or membership or whatever digital product you have, whether it is to launch profitably or to even get started, then DM me on Instagram or email me. I've left all my deets in the description. Oh, and if you want to see how real artists like you are making incredible money by creating big impact in their audience and running their business in a non-burnout way, then you want to watch my client Muniza's story. Her story is going to inspire the heck out of you, especially if you're a burnt out artist.